Please turn off the phones.
I'm sorry.
Right.
It's okay. Okay. What's my touch? Okay. Several months after the end of the war, my parents and their 3 young children went back to Poland. My parents began immediately to search for their family members, and the search continues for several years. But unfortunately, no family member have been found. Meanwhile, my twin sisters were born later on, and of course, the war was already over, and we were back in Poland. While in Poland, I studied Polish, Yiddish, and Russian. I went to a Jewish school. Although my parents were multilingual, we all spoke Yiddish at home, since then that was the preferred language of my parents. When the new Polish government came to power in 1956, the Jews were finally given permission for the first time since the end of the war to leave the country if they choose so. My parents departed near the end of the year of 1956. And after a long journey by trains and by boats, they arrived in Israel in January of 1957. Because of my age at that time, I was the only one at that present time of my parents, a child to qualify to go to an absorption center. And this is when my connection with Hadassah began. The absorption center was called Neurim and was established and run by Hadassah through all those years until today. It was located near a small town called Tivon, and it was not far from Haifa. To say that my 4.5 months in the absorption center was an intense experience would be a major understatement. I am guessing, about one of 100 children in that place. There were children from all over the countries, and some of them came from Morocco, Tunisia, and Egypt, with everybody with different culture and different language. Obviously, communication among all of us was very difficult, and it was like a biblical Tower of Babel, was alive and there. The prime purpose of being in this absorption center was to ease the process of assimilation for all of us into our new country. We were given crash courses in the Hebrew language, and we will study some history and culture, and what became our new homeland, This was organized and facilitated, of course, by the Hadassah. After the months that I lived in the absorption center, I was sent farther north to a kibbutz by the name Shamir, and it was on the border of Lebanon and Syria. They existed till today, and they have a big factory that makes eyeglasses for people. While I was on the kibbutz, we had a person by the name Surika Braverman, which you all met before with the book of Hannah Senesh. She was in the same group as Hannah Senesh was, but she was the one that never landed overseas because she was afraid of heights. She was the one that greeted us, and she became our Bait, which means in Hebrew, the mother of the house. She took care of our clothing, our bedding, our classes. She made sure we got enough to eat. We went to the meals on time, and really like a mother that took care of all of us while we were there. Let's see. Okay. While we were in the kibbutz, we, of course, had to help out in any way we could as children. So we were picking up vegetables and fruits, and I also was picking up cotton by hand. At that time, they didn't have the machinery at that period of time. So it was a different experience. I finished my high school over there, and I stayed over 3.5 years. While I was there in that kibbutz, we experienced quite a few attacks for the Syrian and the Lebanese border, lots of shooting with bombs through the kibbutz. And one night, it happened again. I was present in those attacks twice. One of those attacks, I remember being in a shower, and I was soaking wet, and I heard the sounds of the sirens. And of course, we knew we have to run to the shelters. I didn't know what to put first, the top or the bottom of my clothing, but I knew I had to run. So I grabbed the towel, wrapped myself, and I ran and grabbed my clothes under my arm, and I was gone, and I made it on time, thanks God. At the same time, when we were there was another attack that we had from the Syrians border. There was a lot of damage to the kibbutz, and we had pipes busted and lots of more damage. So at that time, we didn't realize that we're going to have a special visitor, and that was Golda Meir. So she came and visited and wanted to assess the damage at that time. While I finished the kibbutz, I went to school back, and I went to a nursing school and became an RN and worked on a government hospital. And I worked in the dialysis unit, which is the kidney machines, as you all know. When people's kidneys fail, they need to have a special treatment. At that time, I won't forget, I got one day a patient, give me one more minute, a patient, and we got a patient that was flown from Egypt. He was shot down under the sky of Egypt, and because he was a pilot. When he was shot down, he lost his leg and lost a lot of blood. The Egyptian didn't want to deal with him anymore, and they decided through the Red Cross they would send him back to Israel, and they did. And this is when we got him. And I couldn't believe it. He was almost far away from all of us. But we treated him almost every single day, and we saved his life. And after we saved his life, he talked to me quite a bit, and he told me that he cannot fly anymore because he's missing a leg, and he's going to go to medical school, and he sure did. And of course, I was gone from Israel at that time, but my friends from Israel called me and told me that he became really a doctor and worked later on in one of the hospitals. So that was a great thing that I remember. So all I want to tell you that after my education and being a few years as a nurse manager of the dialysis unit, I married an American person, and I'm here. We moved to Jacksonville with all three of our children, and we all became life members of Hadassah. I also meant, I know I'm running the time, I also met Moshe Dayan. He came to visit the pilot, so I had the privilege to meet him at that time.
Thank you very much.
I hope it wasn't you.
It was wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Shoshana. I think there are a lot of amazing stories from people here in Jacksonville that have been impacted by Hadassah and impacted by life in Israel and life in Jacksonville. So thank you, Shoshana, for sharing your story. I'd like to introduce our person who's going to introduce our speaker, our Goldie. Thank you. Yes, Goldie.
Good morning, everybody. I had the pleasure, no, here, here, here.
Don't move.
Don't move. Okay. You can hear me? Yes. All right. I had the pleasure of meeting Joy Corman when I became the executive director at the Temple. Joy was among a select group of Temple leaders, the women who had served as president of the congregation. At the time, that was a very exclusive club. Her leadership abilities had been recognized decades earlier when the Bulls School took her out of the French and Spanish classroom and named her as the director of student activities. It was a new position, and as is her way, she developed it into a massive program. Understanding the significant role of not-for-profit organizations, she created a mandatory volunteer service expectation. Let me say that again, because I think the phrase is so funny. A mandatory volunteer service expectation for the upper class students. I love it. I love it. Her belief in making not-for-profits powerful, her belief that we, not-for-profits, are really powerful, guided her professional commitments until her retirement. She developed living leadership with her dear friend and fellow Hadassah member, Dinah Krossoff of blessed memory. Together, they built stronger boards of directors at numerous Jacksonville not-for-profits and really encouraged those not-for-profits to share best practices amongst them and to stop thinking that they were really competing with each other. Her love of books and reading came together with her leadership skills when she became the chair of the Jacksonville Public Library. She combined her earlier education commitment with her leadership skills when she became the chair of the UNF board. While she's new to giving book reviews to Hadassah, she is not new to book reviews at all. So her dear friend, who many of you may know, Margie Sirkin, Margie's mom was one of the earlier residents at the Coves. And Margie knew that her mom would love a book group. So she turned to her friend Joy to make that happen. And of course it did. It was a little bit different than our July book reviews because her mom served tea from her silver tea set and imported pastries from her favorite Long Island, New York bakery at every session. I may not be president next year, but I don't think there'll be tea sets and bakeries at book reviews next year, but I can promise you there will be book reviews. So this morning, Joy will review Born Survivors by Wendy Holding. Joy.
Okay, let me get situated before we begin. Am I in the right place?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, can you all hear me now? Okay, it's funny because the TV blocks that side of the room and I see people now that I never saw before, but anyway, thanks Goldie for your lovely introduction. I'm very honored to be selected as a participant in this book review. Obviously it's a little different than the Coves with the pastries and the silver tea set, but anyway, it's just wonderful seeing friends. I'm even seeing a friend that I went to college with 100 years ago. people that I've worked with at UNF, people that I worked with at Bowles. There's quite a group here, and I appreciate your being here. The book that I chose is called Born Survivors. It's really an interesting, oh, we're stopping.
We don't change.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, jeez. How much trouble with the audio? Now it's awful. You have never heard of the book Born Survivors? I neither.
Right, the second.
And more trouble with the sound system.
No? Here. Mm. Good for you?
Perfect. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay. Born Survivors was written by Wendy. Wendy is an author, a journalist. She's written more than 40 books. She was a former war correspondent. And she heard about this woman in Canada who was a survivor of a concentration camp during the war. And this woman had a baby, and she had a baby in a concentration camp, and she was fascinated with the story, but the baby died. So it kind of whet her appetite, and she said, I wonder if there could ever be any other babies that were born in concentration camps. And from that came this, which is an amazing story of, when we think of the Holocaust, we think of elderly people that survived, but we never think of babies. And this story is about babies. I actually saw a 60-minute piece, and many of you have probably seen it. But that kind of triggered my appetite to read this book. And I will talk a little bit about the book because it's important to go through all of that. But we'll conclude with the end of the story, which in some ways I'd like to begin with, but I will go ahead and begin with the beginning. The mothers who survive this are totally examples of resilient women. I went ahead and I looked up the meaning of resilience. It's the mental and emotional capacity to navigate trauma, stress, and hardship. Resilient individuals acknowledge their experiences and adapt their mindset to keep moving forward. And Priska, Anya, and Rachel are such examples of resilience, what they actually went through, and then to top it off, to have and deliver a baby is an amazing story. And I encourage those of you that haven't read the book to read it because it really is fascinating. We get to know each of these three, Priska, Eva, and Rachel, and they grow up in various parts of Poland and the Czech Republic, and they are carefree. they lead idyllic lives. They're educated. A couple of them are very fluent in languages, which was of great interest to them. They have affluent lives without a care in the world. And then all of a sudden, their lives come to a close. And as Anya said in the book, you don't give your home and country a thought until it disappears. And that's exactly what happened to many of these women. Priska married Tabor, who was a Jewish journalist of Polish extraction. And the Nuremberg laws kept him from continuing with his newspaper. So he got a really good job at a bank, and they were living very well. Rachel and Monique were both Zionists. Monique's family owned a very successful textile factory. Bernd, Anka's husband, was a German Jew, and obviously he was fluent in German, and she became. And he was an architect and interior designer, and he ended up working for a really famous film studio in Prague. Priska and Tibor married in 1945. She miscarried in 1941 and 1942. Obviously, they were living in their homes at that time. And then they decided to celebrate the third anniversary of their marriage by having another child. And so she became pregnant. And at that point, it was 1944. Anka and Bernd had a son who was born prematurely in 1944, who developed pneumonia and died. And they decided to have another baby in the summer of 1944. And Anya became pregnant. So both of those women were pregnant when they were sent to a concentration camp in Auschwitz. Rachel was initially unaware that she was pregnant, and she arrived at Auschwitz-Birkenau too. What's really interesting to me about Rachel, and it's very significant in terms of what these women went through, she was imprisoned with her three sisters. None of them ever realized she was pregnant until the time she delivered, which is quite significant. It's also amazing to think about going through a pregnancy in a concentration camp. I mean, not that we're wanting to go back and reflect on our pregnancies, but it was all about vitamins and eating the right food and being very careful with what you did. And these women had no choice. They were fed a watery soup if they were lucky, and that was it. And they existed. Most of them, or actually all of them, when they delivered their babies, weighed less than 70 pounds.
Oh, my God.
And they survived. No iron pills, none of that. They were given used clothing after they settled in their various camps, and the clothing was often missized, which was a positive thing because it allowed them to camouflage their stomachs. Priska delivered Hannah in Freiburg, April 12th, 1945. Hannah was a very malnourished baby. It's truly amazing that she survived. And she had all sorts of infections and all of that. When Priska arrived in Mauthausen, and all of them ended up there, there was the 11th Armored Division and of the Army. And there was a medic who was 22 years old, and he discovered Hannah, the baby Hannah. I mean, he couldn't believe, obviously nobody could believe what anybody looked like that was living in this camp. Living is barely the description. But here was a woman with a baby. And so he ran to his superior officer, who coincidentally was a surgeon, and said, I have to tell you about what I just saw. It's unbelievable. And so they took the baby from Prisca, which was a huge sacrifice for her because she had no idea who these Americans were. She spoke English, which helped in terms of communicating, but she was terrified. She had cared for this baby for so long. And she went ahead and let Pete take the baby to his master sergeant, who brought her to a hospital. And at that time, there was a wonder drug called penicillin. And they were able to get penicillin for the baby. They lanced all her
Is this a
boils.
story?
This is true.
Born survivor?
Somebody talking. Pete and his master sergeant, Major Stacy, saved Hannah at that time. We'll hear more about that in a minute. Rachel delivers Mark in an open coal train on its way to Mount and Mark is born April 20th. So Hannah was April 12th. Mark is April 20th, which was a significant day at the time because it was Hitler's birthday. Anya delivers Ava in an open cart on the way to the infirmary after just arriving at Mauthausen. And there was a huge hill and they were pushing her in an open cart with other people that were half alive, and she delivers the baby. Initially, the doctor that was there told her it was a boy, and they wrapped the baby up in newspapers. And it wasn't until later that she discovered she actually had a daughter. Okay. The three women, and again, they were captured when they were age 26 to 29. They spent between 8 months and 4 years in concentration camps. As Rachel said, upon being freed, I was an old woman when I came out at age 26. They defied death to give their children life. And these babies, and you see pictures of moms and babies, went on to have babies of their own and to create a second and third generation, all of whom continue to live their lives in defiance of Hitler's plan to erase them from history and memory. Hannah, after she's liberated, goes to Israel. I mean, way after she's liberated. She goes to deliver, and she delivers her only child, Tommy, in Israel. She marries twice after that, then goes back to school, gets her PhD in organic chemistry, and now she lives with her third husband in San Francisco, and they both work in the pharmaceutical industry, and she has 2 grandchildren. Mark becomes an ER doctor, and he and his wife Mary have 4 children and 4 grandchildren, and they alternate their time between Wisconsin and Arizona. And Eva and Malcolm settled in Cambridge, England, and they have 2 sons and 3 grandchildren. I thought this was an interesting little venue vista of Eva. She returns to Mauthausen because it's her 40th birthday, and she brings her husband and her 2 sons, and she wants to visit because they're having a celebration that day. And they tell her that only survivors get in for free. And she tries to explain that she's a survivor, and it's incomprehensible to the guard at the gate. In May of 2005, Hannah and Mark, now remember, Hannah was the baby that was so sick. She and her husband hear about the 60th anniversary of the liberation of the camp at Mauthausen, and they've read that the US Army is coming there, the men that had liberated the camp, to honor the anniversary. And so she literally is dying to meet Pete, who saved her. And so I want to read to you their meeting, which is amazing. Now, Pete is obviously much older at that time. Okay. It had been 60 years since they had last met, and Hannah couldn't have remembered a thing about it, but clasping the hand of the medic who persuaded his superior officer to try to save her life in that place where so many others were in equally urgent need of their attention, proved to be one of the most moving experiences of both their lives. Her face wet with tears, Hannah told him that she loved him and thanked him for keeping her alive. She showed him some of the scars on her arms and chest from the surgery she'd undergone in the field hospital.
Her mother sent her off with a request. Try to track down that young American medic.
And she says, please find him.
Find him?
Find him.
How were you supposed to do that?
I didn't know his name.
She discovered it was the 11th Armored Division that liberated Mauthausen and sent them a letter.
I was getting various messages, this name, that name. I got in touch with them. Oh, no, it's not me. And finally, I get the message, oh, you want to talk to Pete Peterson.
Peterson was 81 at the time.
Dad mentioned that he had heard from a woman that he believes is the baby that he saved at Mauthausen.
Oh, my God. They met in May 2005, 60 years after their first meeting.
I was so happy to finally touch him, see him.
He was actually staring and looking at her.
I saved that person.
That's you, that's really you. And I was able to thank him, finally. Truly thank him. Because he saved my life. He did.
Do you think knowing that she survived helped with the PTSD in any way?
Oh, absolutely. That lifted a big weight off of him.
And I asked him if I can call him Daddy Pete.
Daddy Pete?
I didn't have a father, so he became my daddy.
He adopted you.
Well, he had no choice.
You adopted him. Let me put it that way. Pete Peterson died 5 years later. Hannah spent a week with him during his final illness. What's your relationship now?
She's my big sister.
Exactly. And he better listen.
To his big
Yes.
sister.
Yeah.
From the past, nobody survived, so I have my family. I am so lucky.
Her mother's.
Okay. Eva, daughter of Anka, learns of the 11th Armored Division site and writes to see if there are any photos of mothers and babies, because again, she only knows of herself, but she knew that they had taken lots of pictures during the liberation time. And so coincidentally, Hannah sees the article and contacts Eva. So the two women have reconnected at this point. And there's going to be a 65th anniversary of the liberation of the Mauthausen camp on May 8th, 2010. And so it's going to be the last time that the surviving American soldiers make an official visit to that site. And so Eva and Hannah decide that they're going to go and be part of this reunion. Coincidentally, Charlie, who is the son of Mark, decides he wants to do something special for his father's 65th birthday. And he thinks about what he could do that would be really special. And he hears about this reunion at the camp, and he decides he's going to bring his father. Well, initially, he has no idea that there are two other babies that are going to be there. And somehow he finds out about Eva and Hannah, and he corresponds with them, and he makes a plan to bring his dad for his 65th birthday. So the three of them go. Obviously, Charlie is convinced to tell his father that he's doing this surprise, because it would have been quite a surprise if he didn't know. And the three of them go to the camp. Do we want to do the video right now? Yeah. Oh.
The future of garage floors is here. The highly sought after Shark floor is now more affordable than ever. For the next 15 days, we're giving you an extra 15% off.
Everyone keeps calling you the babies. And you're 80.
Yes.
Eva Clark, Hannah Berger Moran, and Mark Olsky are among, if not the, youngest survivors of the Holocaust.
A woman presented her baby to him.
He's now just seen all these dead bodies, and there's a baby.
This one we have to try to save.
Having each been raised as only children, all three survivors felt the same way, the same sense of fellowship, and knew they would always remain close, and they have. Hannah said, "We've been brought together by chance, and we now have a permanent bond and feel such a sense of togetherness. I'm absolutely delighted to call them my sister and brother." And I would add a PS, Wendy Holden, because she spent so much time researching, is now another sister of the three. Okay, I'd like to conclude with Wendy Holden's words, because this really strikes the point of the whole story. Thanks to courage, hope, and luck, Priska, Eva, and Rachel's babies were the first ever prisoners of the camp to be given names and actual birth certificates and not numbers on their arms. Their legacy is that they are also inevitably destined to be the last ever survivors of the Holocaust. Okay, are there any questions or comments that you'd like to share?
Thank you very much, Joy. Remarkable. Thank you very much. Thank you, Joy. Let's give Joy, that was remarkable. What a way to end our series. And thank you, Isabel Bolton, for recommending that we ask Joy to speak. Thank you. Well, as we conclude this year's book review series, we reflect on the extraordinary journey that we have taken together as Hadassah Jacksonville, one that carried us across continents, centuries, and lived and imagined experiences of Jewish women whose resilience continues to shape our collective story. We began with Crash of the Heavens. Notice I didn't say Crash of the Century, where Hannah Senesh, a daring member of the Palmach, whose courage and conviction led her back to Europe to rescue the Hungarian Jews, including her mother. Her bravery reminded us that resilience often takes the form of action, bold selflessness, and rooted in the unshakable sense of responsibility of our people. From there, we learned about the Book of Lost Names. Thank you, Carol, who brought to us from France, where a gifted young woman with her talents for forgery helped rescue Jewish children from Nazi occupation and took them to Switzerland so they could live and survive. From there, we went to Eternal Life that Julie so eloquently reviewed last week, and Dara Horn's very incredible work of a mother who lived 2,000 years or more from the temple's destruction, the Second Temple in 72 AD, to the present time in Florida and elsewhere in the United States. And finally, to Joy's remarkable review of Born Survivors, we encountered three remarkable women who were determined to give birth and to see their children thrive and defied the brutality of the Holocaust. Together, these narratives from Europe, Israel, the diaspora have illuminated the enduring spirit of the Jewish women across history, and that includes us sitting here today. Their courage, our courage, ingenuity, and unwavering faith continue to inspire and guide us and to carry on our legacy and to move forward. As we close this year's series, may we hold these stories close to us. May we honor the women of our past and celebrate the women who are moving our legacy forward. Their resilience, our resilience is our inheritance and our charge. This is what we have been born to do. Before we officially close this summer's book review series, I want to extend thank yous to my new partner in crime, Carol Feldman, and I understand she'll be doing this with me next year and hopefully many years to come, whose steady partnership, thoughtful planning, and joyful spirit has helped me, and I think both of us, move to this series. Helen Hill, whose guidance and remarkable attention to detail are greatly appreciated, and of course our Goldie, our leader, who helps us every day, and without a doubt, Sergio, whose technology has helped us. Want to extend our thanks to those who did our Hadassah moments and to the Ruach that we celebrate today and hopefully for a long time. Thank you for our book benefactors, Joanne Cohen and Joy Corman and Sherry Sag, who generously strengthens Hadassah's mission. All the money, and I understand it's around $300, that we've raised through our book benefactor program will go directly to our research and support of Hadassah. As we enter our final session on Ruach Day, we honor the spirit that has carried Jewish women through centuries of challenges and renewal. The same Ruach that has filled our conversations, our reflections, and our community through this summer. It is the thread that connects every story that we have explored, every woman that has joined us, and may that spirit continue to guide us, uplift us, and inspire our long history after today. Amen, via Amen. Thank you. Carol has a minute.
I would just like to underscore everything that Arlene had to say this morning. And not only have we had wonderful books that we have had reviewed, we've had wonderful reviewers, people behind the scenes, and finding our dear friend, new recently arrived Sergio, who has been a great help with the technicalities. We're going to have in a moment the raffle drawing, and today we actually have three copies of the book, so we're very fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop the recording. Stop the Zoom.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're just going to wrap that up and then we'll talk without the recording.
After the book book drawing, drawing of books, we will ask those people who want to participate in our Ruach